For those that I don't know, my name is Zach Posner. I'm a co-founder and managing partner at the LegalTech Fund. We are thrilled to be joined by Avaneesh today, who is the CEO at Litera. And first off, thank you for joining us, Avaneesh. And then I guess just at a high level, because Litera means a lot of things to a lot of people these days, because you've really built something pretty awesome. But can you provide a bit of context on the shape, the size, the scale of Litera?
Sure. So Litera is a software company focused in legal. We have some distinct areas that we focus in. Our legacy offering being in drafting and providing end-to-end solution for lawyers to live inside Microsoft Word to do their most important job of creating content and getting work done and negotiating with counterparties. We also are in transaction management, from due diligence with Kira to Transact, and now with Dragon, which extracts deal points after a closing. And then with Foundation, we are really see the future of Litera being the experience company, harnessing what the firm, partners, and attorneys have done to reuse in the future in the most effective way, with providing experience at the right place at the right time. So Foundation as a product interacts with Clocktomizer for pricing and budgeting, Big Square for dashboarding. We really find it that we are pretty effective at providing experience data back to the marketplace. All in all, the business has grown substantially over the last handful of years from our humble beginnings. Today, Litera stands at north of 250 million of ARR with healthy EBITDA margins that are cornerstone to our business, allowing us to invest back in the organization and to invest in M&A. Over the last 8 years, we've done over 20 acquisitions, everything from small startup acqui-hires all the way up to scale organizations to build what we have today. And we've invested heavily in innovation in the last 18 months and driving new product out from Litera as well. So we see a very healthy runway for the organization and this industry for the next 5 to 7 years.
Wow, there was a lot there. I guess if I, two areas I'd love to double click on. One is, the changes that you've seen over your time. The second is kind of how you're thinking about AI and where the future works. I guess if we start with the changes, there's an article I read years ago, and it talked about every time you add a 1 and a 3 to a company, every process breaks. When you hire the first employee, everything the founders do break. You go to the third, everything breaks. You go to the 10th, you go to the 30th, you go to the 100th, you go to the 300th, you go to the 1000th, and every time, every process breaks. What have you seen through some of this journey? Because I know you were there super early. You've been, you stepped back for a little bit, but you were pretty active on the board, and now you're back again.
Our journey may not be unique to other folks, but it felt unique in the sense that when I joined the business, it was really looking at legacy desktop applications, and in a world where applications were built out of folks' garages, they were system application specialists inside law firms that had left to build something in a macro to go back to the market with. So we were taking legacy technologies and trying to make them enterprise grade and bringing them together. And so that first set of challenges was upscaling talent and bringing a level of software expertise to an industry that may not always use software best practices. And then as the business scales, as you said, right, you get to different levels, 50 million, 100 million, 250 million, and you go looking forward, 500, $1 billion. It requires different talent. It requires different set of skills and operations, and that includes the CEO, right? We have to level ourselves up on what we focus on and what we do. We can't have our fingers in everything anymore as you get this big. You have to figure out what your superpower is and index towards that, and then build a team around you that can handle the rest. The complexities, though, get pretty interesting as you get bigger. You get global. The requirements from your customers grow. Being enterprise grade is mission critical at this point. Security is mission critical at this point. Interoperability with the rest of the ecosystem is mission critical at this point. So when we look at that, we have to also be nimble, right? This is a big startup world right now. VCs are entering, like yourself, in the marketplace, and you're solving really unique issues, maybe a point solution at a time. Well, we have a whole ecosystem to go defend against. So as you get bigger, you still have to remain nimble and find ways to be innovative and maniacal about the product and the customer. So the challenges become different. You have HR challenges that don't exist when you're small. You have to think of global conflicts you never thought before, right? Ukraine was a thing I never had to think about before, but then Ukraine was a thing to think about. We have a big team there. So there's things that just come across our radar at this size and scale that may not be realized by a new startup, and that's just, I guess, just focus on one thing with a team of 5 people.
You mentioned a step function in technology change. That was a kind of a big deal, maybe desktop to the cloud. When you look at what's happening now with AI, like how do you compare the two? How do you think, how are you guys starting to think about AI?
We took it pretty quickly internally. So we used it pretty successfully to find ways to develop code faster. We're finding ways to service our customers better and quicker through support and services. We obviously leverage Salesforce and NetSuite and their AI capabilities to run our business where we can better. At the same time, when we look at our vendors that we even purchase from, not everything makes sense. I think people are still trying to figure out what the answers are, where AI belongs. Now, when I turn that and say, how does that belong in our industry? I think we're still figuring it out long term. There are so many parameters to AI that we haven't figured out yet. One is, where's the end cost going to end up? Right? The cost of this thing has dropped significantly, but ultimately, who owns the cost? Is it me, the software provider? Is it the law firm? Is it the client? Safety, security, where's data reside? Where's data being processed? Those are mission critical things to solve for. What segment of the law firm market can you apply certain parameters? I do not think, and maybe I'm wrong, that the largest firms in the world where the biggest transactions are happening, are we okay with having AI do most of the work in drafting documents? Yeah. Right? It's just, that's not what we pay for as a consumer of that service.
Yeah.
But I do think, the view I'm taking of AI is, like we've done everything else, it should fit in your native workflow. And it should enhance your native workflow that you do today. Let's not take you out of the box to go do something else to come back to do your job. So we've been not first to market with our ideas, but when our ideas do come out, they just seamlessly fit into the workflow that exists at the law firm today. So usage and adoption is, I think, much quicker over time. And then with us, it comes with enterprise grade security and safety around it. So I'm excited by it. Look, I think Gen AI has taken legal to the cloud faster. We've been on this journey for a long time to get all the big firms to go to the cloud. They've been hesitant, but you can't even leverage this stuff unless you're willing to go ping a server outside your network. So most things, right? You can do it in-house, but you're not getting the same level of analysis. So I think it's helped us all move forward faster. We've been waiting for this moment in time, and it's here.
Yeah, there's a Bill Gates quote that suggests people overestimate what happens in two years, underestimate what happens in 10.
Right.
I think we're there. And the stuff that you're talking about is very valid right now, the safety, the security, and I also stayed in the last week at an Airbnb and I took an Uber and I didn't get murdered neither. If that's what people were saying way back when. Right. And I think the technology kind of solves these. And then that point I think you make about large law firms, that's a big construct. Like we almost think of this as like a Rubik's Cube right now, where you have big firms, 6 sides, big firms, small firms, hourly or contingency, and business law, practice law. And that one that you described, the law firm and the world, that very little real usage right now, lots of experimentation.
Right.
But for good reason. But the flip side is, if you're a small firm, if you're a family law attorney and somebody needs an NDA, maybe that's not such a bad outcome.
I think huge value to the consumer, right? So think of single sole practitioners as a consumer, as a B2C model of selling tools. It makes them hyper competitive. Yep. I think it gives them a better lifestyle. I think it gives them better profitability, gives them time back to their family. These are all things you can solve with AI down market. Corporate attorneys, that's a 1 or 2 person corporate attorney office, inside a small business. They can do more now and probably leverage more opportunities for risk taking, because they can do research faster. They can create a first draft faster. They can do different things that you probably couldn't do before. So I think where this thing has value today is probably in those markets. At the same time, those markets can't test and validate fully what they're buying.
Yeah.
So there's a high degree of trust that what you're giving me is better than what I could do over the course of 8 hours of research. I can do it in 10 minutes. So there is a validation there that I'm hopeful gets better over time. So that way people can heavily rely on the answer they're getting versus saying, it's a good first step.
I'm curious, like we look at it and you had mentioned this construct of, hey, you guys have acquired some point solutions and things along to offer a full suite. I look at it and see like 3 different worlds happening right now with AI. I see some very specific use cases that can be like spectacularly good and accurate. I'll give a simple one. We just saw a company that's helping with construction permits.
Yeah, right.
Maybe that's a 40-hour process that needs a lot of research, and maybe the software does it all takes it down to an hour of review. That's one end, the specific. Then I see, and the tech can get really good there because you can train it and get it good. Then I see a company like Litera that I say, hey, at the end of the day, you're trying to help multiple levels at a law firm work more efficiently, more effectively. And, it may be a little bit more challenging to do that across everything you guys do right now. And then I see somebody like, go to the extreme and you say there's Microsoft Word.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out, and I'm curious your thoughts as to like where this stuff shakes out. Like, do those, how good do you think the tech gets? And is this like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? And is it like, how do you think of, you're sitting in the middle of that ecosystem you partnered with Microsoft, you acquire small companies,
I think we're far away from finding the end game of success here with this technology. I think it continues to get better. And I'm not one to sit here and say we're done or we're near diminishing rate of returns on investment. I think there's still a lot to go build and a lot of smart people sitting around a table and whiteboards building their next stage of models and how data works. How do you interact with Microsoft? So I'll give you my point of view and Litera's point of view. I've felt from day one, our job is to make Microsoft more valuable to law firms. Microsoft is typically one of the largest spends at the firm after the real estate, and people like Microsoft's pretty expensive. What can we do to make that thing more valuable for you? And that's where our drafting solutions started making Microsoft Word valuable. We're now focused on making Outlook more valuable in the next 12 months. We want to make Teams valuable, OneDrive, SharePoint more valuable. So doing that means consistently being embedded with them to say, where is Copilot going? What are you doing with these different areas of technology? So we can layer our things on top of it or next to it. So that way we can actually give the right data back to the firms. Copilot's great, but can Copilot today sync with some of the internal data sets that firms have? Not perfectly. So can we bridge that for Copilot? So that way it's better for them. Or can we build a skin on Copilot that fits better into the workflows of what firms want to do? I think if we were to say we're going to go, we think we find them as a threat. Not yet. I do find them as a very strong partner to accelerate our vision of what we want to do. And the closer we stay with them, the better we are. I don't see Microsoft leaving the law firm tech stack anytime soon. So let's make it really strong and powerful for them.
Now, if we pull you out of Litera, which we would love to do, and we write you a $500,000 check to go start something in the future. If you think of that spectrum, are you saying, hey, I want to be thinking about a foundational model? I want to be thinking about the next construction permit. Like, how do you think about this from the entrepreneur's lens? And I'm more asking this if there's advice you'd give to other entrepreneurs that are just getting started in legal tech.
Yeah, I think at this point in time, for me, if I was a new founder, I wouldn't spend my time in the foundational model world. I think there's enough energy being put there and you can partner to find the ones you're excited about. What I would spend my time on is actually looking and spending time with the end user that's actually doing things you're interested in and learning where can you improve different motions they make today, different interactions they have today with data. There's so much time being spent looking for the answer, where you can help solve that. I think too often founders will just try to say, I solved X, but was X needed to be solved? Did anybody validate that was the thing you had to solve? Is there any value in X today?
Yeah.
So I don't think founders spend enough time with the end user. They spend time on the hypothesis, but not enough time on the end user to say, I'm going to watch you work for 100 hours and figure out, am I doing the right stuff? I mean, that's what we do today to bring new product to market or even to improve our product set. We actually sit there and spend so much time looking at what people do for a living with our technologies to find out ways to improve. If I was a founder, I don't know how I would do something net new without spending time with the consumer that's going to be using my tools for improvement.
Yeah. No, we agree. And I think that you touch on something that's hidden in legal right now is everybody's focused on the AI stuff, but there's so many workflows that are still broken and could use so much support from entrepreneurs that we're pretty psyched. All right, I'm going to give you one more. If we zoom out just a little bit further, you have young kids, that you just gave advice to founders. Like, what do you think the skills that they're going to need as they kind of grow up?
I think knowing how to ask questions always becomes mission critical not going forward. Like, how do you actually frame a question so you get relevant answers? If we think of the generation before us, like my parents, they can't use Google very well. They don't know how to even do that basic interaction of search. I think our generation understands basics of search and how to go find basic things. I think if I look at my kids, they're 6 and 3. Some of the stuff that we would have gone and looked for, they're just going to be given the answer to, right? I think the world around us should be looking at how people are living and saying, here's something I know you already want today. But it's going to be fine tuning that and asking even better questions over time. So for me, it's like the ability to ask a question the right way at the right time, I think is always going to be important. And I'm hopeful that over the next 20 years, we can trust the models that have been built to keep advancing our race, but you never know, right? This is like unknown lands we're entering. So always questioning what you're seeing, I think, is valuable at this point in time. Whether even today, right? We can ask what you're seeing on TV is real, or if the call you got is real, or the text message you got is real. Being able to
I agree, and I think that overall, and even extending that further to curiosity and follow up and.
Because it'll be too easy, right? It'll be too easy, right? It'll be too easy. We're already at a point now where you enter a new city and DoorDash is giving you restaurant recommendations based on the restaurants you eat at or order at from somewhere else, right? It's already fine-tuning itself to tell you where to go eat potentially. So if you just follow that model, you may not do a search for other restaurants you want to eat at. So I think curiosity is going to be pretty important for us and for the next set of generations.
Awesome. Well, look, thank you for taking a few minutes. I feel like we covered a lot. We covered today at Litera, what LegalTech entrepreneurs should be doing and what the whole next generation of entrepreneurs should be doing. But I appreciate you taking a few minutes. It was great chatting with you as always, and excited to see you in person shortly.
Yeah, thanks.